the ideas in somebody's head. There's no such thing. I don't remember the pseudo anthropologist or archaeologist who coined that phrase, but it was coined in, I think it was the early 20th century or the late 19th century. I don't remember exactly. It was right there, real close. And they coined that phrase race because of some skeletal remains that was found in, I think it was Neanderthal, Germany. Neanderthal man or Cro-Magnon man, what would we call it? So those were it was based upon the Darwin theory of survival of the fittest. And that's where that term come from. And they was justifying those terms. They say it was 4 basic races. I don't remember all 4. I know one was Negroid, the other one was called Caucasoid, another one was called Mongoloid, and there was another one. It was 4. And they said that these were that the white race or the Caucasians won the race, won the competition, using the Darwin theory of survival of the fittest. This is how they was using that term to justify the colonization of people's lands and countries and so forth and so on, and that they had the knowledge and they had the money and the ability, which made the system apart to be in control of large groups of people.
They were winning the race.
They were winning the race. That's where that term comes from. So over the years, I stopped using that word. I used the word ethnic bigotry or social bigotry. I used that term. It's more accurate. And but colonialism, or should I say neo-colonialism, is the proper term to describe the people who became mayors, the first black mayor. It's getting to the point where they say the first black woman who did this or did that, or any other group that they call minority. Those terms, they were used to divert the people's attention, to undermine the progressive movement to make the conditions better. It had nothing to do with doing anything right. It had nothing to do with right or wrong in the sense of those particular elections. And they wanted to get people to get out of the streets and then get back into the voting booths. So you have a lot of corruption, because to be in that position, they was allowed to do these things until they got finished being used. Then that's when they started cracking down on cutting federal funds for the inner city programs. Houses is being built everywhere. There was prefab houses, but they was houses where people had, it was a new house. You got a poor person like me moving into a house that still smell like you can smell the wood because it's fresh. We thought we had it going on, So that's what was going on. That's what it was. So it's the neo-colonials. It was the people, the oppressed people who had someone placed over them to look up to give them false hope.
Wow. And
that's what that was.
We do have to take some question answers, but I do want to ask.
Let me go
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Definitely. I just want to ask you. I just want you to relate, because I know. I mean, it's got lawyers in this room right now, and it's got people who are aspiring to be lawyers. And you have a wealth of experience helping guys literally on the front line where it really mattered, people who've already lost their liberty. And you assisted a lot of people into, at the very minimum, which is huge, educating them to understand that you do have options, you do have decisions that you can make, you do have ways that you can change your situation and make it better for yourself. You helped a lot of people like that. But I would want to know, talking to these people now and them leaving out of this room, what would you like especially people in here who will one day be defending somebody or arguing some form of litigation, what would you like for them to take away? And everybody who's listening in the Zoom, what would you like for them to take away from this meeting today? What would you like them to know about law?
First of all, it's something they already know, and that is the system of jurisprudence, or shall I say the system of justice in the court system in this country, has nothing to do with right or wrong, and it has nothing to do with justice, but it has everything to do with due process. So if a person was afforded due process, then you get all the benefits that the law guarantees you. It doesn't say whether you're innocent. It doesn't say because you're guilty. It says you've been afforded due process. And the case, the number one case that I use to illustrate that point is Herrera versus Collins. In 1991, Herrera was a Latino brother who was charged with killing a police officer. That case was being ruled over. I don't remember when the case actually happened, but the ruling came down in 1991 from the U.S. Supreme Court. Two detectives, police detectives, I think they were retired by then, learned that Herrera was innocent. So they gave the attorneys who represented Herrera, they gave him depositions and evidence from their reports and things that had not been returned over to the former attorneys. Okay, so the district court reversed his habeas corpus and granted him a new trial. The attorneys for the government appealed, and the case went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Then the U.S. Supreme Court ruled, and I'm paraphrasing this so you can look the case up and get the proper quote. But the U.S. Supreme Court ruled, it says that all that the law requires is that the defendant receives a fair trial, and not a perfect one, in accordance with due process. And it says it was not unconstitutional to execute the innocent found guilty properly.
Wow. Say that again.
The U.S. Supreme Court ruled it was not unconstitutional to execute the innocent found guilty properly.
The highest court of the land.
The highest court of the land. If the individual was afforded due process.
Wow.
So when you go off into your field, when you go off into whatever you're gonna do, keep in mind it's about due process. No matter who the client is, there's a defense to every case. There's no such thing as a case where there's no defense. It may be hard, but it's a defense for every case.
Yes, sir.
Because all you have to do is show that your client's rights to due process was violated. So being that this is a criminal law and not civil, you don't get any money. So only relief or compensation you can get is some type of reduced sentence or to be released or suppress the evidence.
Yes, sir. Very, 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 very interesting.
Appreciate you guys, Kate.
I definitely appreciate everything that you offered to the group today. You know, I mean, even to me, because I learned a few things. You know a lot about a lot of different people, a lot of different organizations, a lot of different time periods. So I'm sure the people got some questions. And you say you have to use the restroom? So if you want to.
Anybody might want to take a break.
Does anybody want to use the restroom before we
I want to
do
take a
the
break.
question? Okay. Yeah.
About 5 or 10 minutes.